Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about some possible plant shifting, some manufacturing shifts that are coming because Donald Trump is taking office today. Trump actually becomes the 47th president today at noon, and this video should be coming out about 10 o'clock. So there's some stuff I wanted to talk about that I was trying to talk to everybody about during my live stream this past weekend, and everything just kept crashing, and I was just having a mess with it, so I said, I'll just make a video of it. But I wanted to go through some interesting things. I posted on Friday on Mopar Insiders, and one of the things was the Jeep CEO, Antonio Filosa, basically came out to the Transport Times at the Detroit Auto Show and said some very interesting things that could happen to the next Cherokee. So the first thing you guys should know is that Jeep is looking at building an all-new Cherokee. It's no secret. They've come out and said, hey, the Cherokee will return in 2026. This is an article I wrote back in December. This right here is not the Cherokee. This is the Wagoneer S Trailhawk concept. A lot of people have told me from inside the company that this vehicle here shares a lot of design elements that we will see on the Cherokee. Now, the Cherokee won't have necessarily what we hear is it won't have an off-road version right off the bat. We'll probably get that later, but it should have three different models. We're hearing like a Latitude model, or a Sport model, a Latitude model, also known as the North model in Canada, and a Limited for sure. This vehicle was supposed to be built in Toluca, Mexico, alongside its siblings, the Wagoneer S, which just hit dealers this past week, and the new upcoming Jeep Recon 4xe, which is a new lifestyle SUV, and all of these vehicles are D-segment vehicles. What sets the Cherokee apart from the Wagoneer S is the fact that it's not going to be electric. It's going to be a hybrid-only vehicle. Now, on Mopar Insiders, we've covered this vehicle several times. And the thing is, we know the powertrain that it's going to be in it. It's going to have a 1.6-liter turbocharged four-cylinder that's going to be built at the Dundee engine plant here in Michigan. And connected to that 1.6-liter turbocharged engine, it's going to be a brand new 3-speed hybrid transmission. Now, we've seen the patents for it on the USPTO, or United States Patent Trademark Office website, and we posted those on Mopar Insiders, but since then, they kind of disappeared. So it's kind of funny, but if you go on Mopar Insiders, there's a link there, you can click on it, it takes you to the website, and basically it just, there's nothing there. It just says it's not accessible. So there's a lot of things going on with this new D-segment vehicle, and the reason why the Cherokee is such a key component is, unlike the Wagoneer and Recon, the Wagoneer S and Recon, those are going to be global vehicles. Those are going to be sold in Europe, Australia, Asia, Middle East, all that stuff. But the Cherokee is dedicated just to North America. So, that being said, Stellantis and Trump have had a kind of a chaotic last 6 months. It started with the announcement of the Warren Truck Assembly Plant laying off 1,100 employees. This came after the discontinuation of the Ram 1500. Now, if we get into this kind of part of the story, it's kind of confusing, but it's not if you kind of been focusing on the pickup market. Ram 1500, what we call classics, or the fourth generation trucks sold in Mexico. All of our regular cab 1500 trucks have come from there. They build crew cab 1500 classics down there. Well, they did up until about a couple months ago. They built those down there to supply the export markets. So you're like Brazil, like not just Brazil, but South America, Central America, Middle East, Australia, markets like those. And they also build all of our heavy duty trucks. So that being said, there's been a lot of turmoil about why they build all these trucks down there, but they've been building them for almost 30 years now. I mean, it's been like the mid 90s is when they started producing pickups down there, and they've been an integral part of Ram's lineup because obviously all the heavy duty trucks are being built down there. Now, if we look at this article back in January of 2018, this is back when FCA, not Stellantis, was around. And Sergio Marchionne made the announcement that all heavy-duty trucks were going to be moved to the Warren Truck Assembly Plant to be built alongside the Jeep Wagoneer and Jeep Grand Wagoneer. And this was going to be in 2020. However, not even a year later, Sergio Marchionne died. And then all of a sudden, Mike Manley comes in, and he's kind of forced to find a company to merger with and basically create a new company, which we know as Stellantis now. So this project to move production back to Michigan never really came about. Instead, at that time, Stellantis was actually kind of locked into Warren Truck because Ram 1500, before the 5th generation trucks came out, the 4th generation trucks were all, like I said, built in either Saltillo, Mexico, or at Warren Truck. Warren Truck's capacity with the old 1500 was maxed out at that time, and they needed a bigger plant. So what they basically did was they decided, hey, we're going to discontinue what they just came out with, was the Chrysler 200, the 2nd generation Chrysler 200, and basically take that plant and make it into a Ram 1500 exclusive plant. Now, if you're not familiar with the Sterling Heights assembly plant, before the 2015 Chrysler 200, they were building Chrysler 200, which was the Sebring, and the Dodge Avenger there. That plant was almost doubled in size before the 2015 cars made their debut, and the 2015 cars were built on the new side of the plant, so half of that plant was idle. So when they needed to look at a plant to build pickup trucks at, it made sense because they weren't using half of the Sterling Heights assembly plant. So we've discontinued the cars, and we basically build pickups there now. However, right after they launched the DT trucks, they realized because they were winning awards like crazy and demand was really high, they noticed that they couldn't meet the production goals that they originally had intended to put forward. That meaning, like, they thought they could build X amount of trucks, and they were struggling to do that because of how the plant is laid out. Fast forward to last year, we have Ram struggling in sales. However, they're introducing a new lineup of electrified trucks. The new Ram 1500 Ramcharger, which we've talked about several times on this channel, and the Ram 1500 Rev, the all-electric Ram. And the plan was that the Ram 1500 Classic was coming to its end of life. They would have had to invest, I'm talking probably like $100 million to keep that truck going, to meet crash test standards and stuff like that, and they weren't going to invest it in a truck that was that old. So originally the plans were to build the Ram 1500 Ramcharger and the Rev at Warren Truck to replace the Ram 1500 Classic. Now the Ram 1500 Rev and Ramcharger have the same architecture as the Grand Wagoneer and Wagoneer. They're basically the Stella frame platform, and they both have independent rear suspension, so it made sense. However, because of quality control issues at the plant and other things, Stellantis basically said, we're not going to build them there. We're going to build them at Shab. Well, when you're trying to build two new products at a plant that's already kind of having trouble to meet capacity, what are you going to do with your other vehicles? How are you going to keep production going? And with the Ram 1500 Classic production moving out of Mexico because it's being ended down there, they still build the heavy duties. There's a possibility they could build more trucks down to Mexico for a cheaper price. So what we heard was Ram was looking at moving production of some 1500s down to Mexico, and this would have been your trucks for export models mostly. So we know the Ram 1500, the newer truck, the 5th gen truck, is super popular in Brazil. It's also super popular in the Middle East, Australia, and it would have been cheaper to build it down there, not just for labor, but for tariffs and stuff to these other countries, because compared to the U.S., that's just how politics works. So they decided, hey, we're going to do that. Well, the word got out, and back in November, Trump had come to Warren to do a rally just before the election. And he had heard about this. They were talking about it prior to him coming on stage. And he came out and he basically threatened Stellantis. He goes, if you move your truck production down there, because you just laid off 100 or 1,100 people here, he basically said this quote. He said, tell Stellantis if they plan on moving, we're going to charge them 100% tariff on every car, and they won't move. So keep that in mind. That's a huge statement. Now that's not just saying we're going to put a tariff on those trucks. We're going to put a tariff on every car. So this is where the picture kind of expands. You might think I'm getting sidetracked, but there's a bigger story to all this. And the reason why I say this is, again, the Cherokee Wagoneer S, which just launched, the Cherokee that's coming for North America, and the Recon are all built in Mexico. Ram ProMaster vans are built in Mexico. All of our heavy-duty trucks that were originally supposed to be moved here to Warren Truck, but are now down in Mexico, would be, in trouble if tariffs went on board with them. So Antonio Filosa comes out and says, hey, we're going to build this new Cherokee, this hybrid, D-segment vehicle. And basically told the Transport Times at the Detroit Auto Show that, they asked him about, with the new administration's policies beginning to, take shape, what's going to happen. And he basically said their key manufacturing options or decisions, including where to build the future, like Jeep Cherokee, is kind of on hold for right now. And mind you, the Cherokee is supposed to launch at the end of the fourth quarter in 2025. So what he said was, this is an actual quote, we have a couple of options. And he goes, those are the things that we're assessing now. So if you think about it, if you go back through and think about, okay, this new vehicle, it's a D-segment SUV, it's going to be based on the Stella Large platform. There's a couple of plants that are building Stella Large vehicles. Go look at Windsor. Windsor's building the new Dodge Charger Daytona. They're supposed to be getting a new Chrysler crossover called the C6X, which is a D-segment crossover, just like the same size as the Wagoneer. And basically, or the Wagoneer S, I mean. But this new D-segment crossover, if you go on Mopar Insiders, and we've talked about it, is paused for the month. The development for it has been paused. We got an actual email from a supplier, and Chrysler basically came out and confirmed it a couple days later after reading it on our site, that this new product was going to be put on hold for a month. Now, if you look back at the thing, it said January 6th to January 31st. Well, what sits right in the middle of that time frame? Trump's inauguration. So we're pretty sure that Chrysler's refocusing, because we know Trump doesn't like the whole EV mandate. Even though Elon Musk is there, Elon said, hey, I don't like the EV mandate either. So with rebates and stuff, I bet you we're going to hear an announcement in the next couple months that Chrysler's not going to be an all-electric brand in 2027 like they originally, or 2028, I'm sorry, like they originally hoped. Chris Fuel, who is the CEO of Chrysler and was the former CEO of Ram, is now also the CEO of Alfa Romeo North America. And last year, Alfa Romeo had basically said, hey, we're going to be an all-electric brand by 2028. Or 2027. I get the dates mixed up, but 2027. Then they realized, hey, in the European market, there's a huge pushback against EVs. In the North American market, there's a big pushback against EVs. Everybody's going to hybrid. So they basically came out and said, hey, we're going to offer electrified vehicles, but we're going to offer BEV and basically hybrids. So I'm thinking Chrysler might follow that same suit. So with that in mind, they're looking at changing all these vehicles around. And again, we look at this new Cherokee product, and what plant looks like it could be the best suited for it? Belvidere, Illinois. Belvidere has been at the topic of a lot of discussions with the UAW, with Stellantis, and basically Congress. Congress has sent forth a ton of letters suggesting that Stellantis needs to open this plant and follow through with their 2023 UAW tentative agreements. Now, if we look back at the tentative agreements for the UAW and Stellantis, Sean Fain was really boasting about, hey, we got the Belvidere plant, it's going to be back up, and we saved those jobs there. Well, you look at the agreement, there's a ton of loopholes in it, a ton. It was kind of a bad agreement to begin with. Stellantis can basically make the decision based on markets, if they want to cut production of certain vehicles or move plants around. And when this thing was announced in late 2023, in like November of 2023, that this tentative agreement was a go for Belvidere reopening, all of a sudden, August 2024 comes around, and Stellantis says, we know we're supposed to be building a midsize pickup there, electrified midsize pickup. But we're pushing it back to 2028 instead of 2027. So again, we're at 2023. The UAW says we're reopening Belvidere. That's not for another 4 years. And their contracts last for 4 years. Then all of a sudden, Stellantis says, hey, we're going to open it up in 2028. We're looking at making some changes. And that's perfectly fine according to their agreement with the UAW. But the UAW didn't like that because, okay, that puts it outside of the current contract. So if they go to the negotiating table next time, Stellantis can basically say, we don't want to build anything there. Now keep in mind, Belvidere was supposed to be this big, big project. Out of all the plants, Belvidere was going to be the biggest project. They were going to basically build a new electric pickup there. They were going to build a battery plant there. And it was going to be the new center of a Mopar mega hub. So what they were going to do is close a bunch of distribution centers and move it to this new mega hub there. And if you're not familiar with Belvidere, it's about 60 miles, or not 60 miles. It's about something like that. It's about an hour and 20 minutes northwest of Chicago. It's right on I-94. And the funny thing is like it employed most of the town. But after the Cherokee was discontinued there in February of 2023, the plant went idle. A lot of the jobs there were everybody was either laid off indefinitely, or some people had a chance to move to either Kokomo, Indiana, to the transmission plants there, or they could go to other plants. And one person went to the Toledo South plant and worked on the Gladiator line, where he was unfortunately crushed to death last year, and it was a huge news story. He basically got entangled in where the bodies or the vehicles merge into the chassis, and he was crushed. So unfortunately, yeah, stuff like that happens. But this guy had moved all the way from Belvidere to go to, on top of everything, and moved it from Belvidere to go to this plant just to keep his job with the UAW and Stellantis. So kind of sad there. But since then, the sad thing about this whole situation is with all the UAW tensions and stuff and all the temporary / permanent layoffs, Belvidere's economy was like crippling. So Belvidere's actually opened up they're got, I think, a Walmart distribution hub now, and something else, another distribution hub for something else. And a lot of the UAW members that have worked at the plant have gone to those kind of jobs. So it's going to be very interesting if they are going to take and look at options. This is my own personal opinion. This isn't what's been said or anything like that. I believe Belvidere is going to be the key for all this. I think they're looking at moving the Cherokee, maybe pushing it back a few. Let's say they instead of having it debut in the fourth quarter of 2025 in Mexico, let's say they push it back to second quarter of 2026, which really isn't a huge drastic move, but it should be okay. They could open this plant up early. The plant actually still has, I think, about 100 people working there, just to make sure, maintenance and stuff is kept up at the plant. But the plant is actually in pretty good shape. It doesn't need a huge renovation compared to most plants, because back in 2018 it got a huge upgrade, because when they discontinued the Chrysler 200 at Shap, they had just built Shap, like the new part of Shap, and with all this new equipment back in 2014, closed down production in late 2016. They took all that equipment and moved it to Belvidere. And because the 200 and the Cherokee, which was moved from the Toledo South plant in order to build the Gladiator, shares the same platform. So the plant's not that outdated. It's been a plant that's been in the production up until 2023, since the 60s, built some really key items for Chrysler, usually small unibody products, but it's a unibody plant. So they don't have to convert all this stuff over. And we know that the new midsize truck is more than likely going to be based on the Stellar Large platform, because we've seen stuff from the 2021 EV Day presentation that shows, yes, they're going to look at building a small or a midsize pickup on the Stellar Large platform. Tim Kuniskis has come out and said, hey, I really want a midsize truck so bad for the lineup. We know Chris Fuel had said some stuff about the truck is coming. That'll be, game changing. And Tim basically went out last week and said everything's more expensive. Trucks are way more expensive. Bread goes up, you still got to eat, right? Trucks go up, you start looking for alternatives. So we know he wants a midsize truck. If the Cherokee goes to Belvidere in 2026, we might see that Ram midsize truck be built alongside of it earlier than what we think. Kuniskis is pushing for it. It makes sense. All this stuff makes sense, and at least if you study the market like I do. Belvidere is the key. The problem is trying to get people back to be, have their jobs at the plant. It's going to be kind of hard to do. Belvidere's kind of out in the middle of nowhere. The town's not that big, but I mean, it's, if you're on 94 and you're cruising by, you'll see this big plant, and there's a road that goes alongside of it that heads into the town. There's nothing out there, really. It's kind of weird. It's just, there's not much around there. So Stellantis has the property out there that they could build on and stuff and that, but the plant out there is in good shape. It's got a stamping plant, on the same site. They can do a lot of stuff out there. And if they're looking at building these products, and let's say it's going to be a hybrid model, the Cherokee's going to be a hybrid model, obviously. This could mean a hybrid version for a midsize pickup. It could mean that maybe they'll look at taking the Chrysler crossover. If they decide, hey, we're not going to build an all-EV version of it, maybe we can take that product and move it, because it's still a large, to Belvidere as well. That'd be kind of cool, having a Chrysler crossover, a Ram pickup, and a Jeep SUV all at the same plant, with hybrid power and internal combustion engine and EV possibilities. When you look at powertrains, like I said, the Cherokee's going to have a 1.6 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder. That's going to be built in Dundee, Michigan. That's a lot closer than Mexico. The hybrid transmission sounds like it's going to be built in Kokomo, Indiana. That's not that far from Illinois. So to me, making that Cherokee probably is the key to not only making it sound like, hey, we're bringing a plant back to kind of make it so it sounds like it's, they're doing something, moving a product from Mexico to the U.S., which should, please, or at least please Trump in a way. But if they start saying, hey, we're going to build more products there, it might take the Trump administration's focus on Stellantis saying, hey, we're going to, have 100% tariffs on all the other products like your Wagoneer S and your Recon and your Ram ProMaster vans, which have been selling really good, and kind of, ease tensions a little bit. So maybe I'm crazy, but after hearing all these quotes and stuff, I really think that Belvidere is going to be a key plant in the shuffle that will kind of start things off to show that, hey, President Trump, Stellantis is making huge moves to push forward and build vehicles here in the U.S., especially a Jeep product, compared to being built in Mexico. Like, you look at the new Wagoneer S, yeah, it's attractive. However, Wagoneers always have the flag on the side if they're built here in the U.S., like the Grand Wagoneer and the normal Wagoneer. Wagoneer S doesn't have that because it's not built in the U.S. By having that American brand built in America says a lot. The only reason why I say the Chrysler thing is because there isn't any Chrysler products built in the U.S. Chrysler is an American brand. However, you have the Pacifica is really the only product left. Although we have the entry-level Voyager, and the Canadian version of that is still the Grand Caravan. So by bringing a crossover into the lineup to Belvidere as well, you can say, hey, we're building a Chrysler product in the U.S., We're building a brand new Jeep product in the U.S., and we're building a new Ram pickup in the U.S. To me, it just makes sense. And I think this is what they're going to do. Personally, this is what I think they're going to do. So, do you think I'm crazy? Let me know in the comments below. What do you think about this? I mean, maybe I'm going to be way off, but it sounds like Belvidere, again, to me, it sounds like Belvidere's the key to this. Maybe we'll see Belvidere fired up faster than what we thought, and maybe this will be good because it'll push a new Ram pickup, a smaller truck, more affordable truck, to dealers faster than what we thought as well. So, take and hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.